It's a pretty awesome morning. I got my coffee, I got a new flannel, and I'm here hanging out with you guys, and we're talking about an amazing tree, Saucer Magnolia. Let's go. I cannot tell you enough what an incredibly show-stopping tree this is. It's got a few common names that it goes by. Saucer Magnolia is probably the most popular. There's also Chinese Magnolia or Tulip Tree. So you really want to search for this tree by its botanical name. That'll give you the most accurate description. And that is Magnolia X soulangeana. And the X just means it's hybridized between two different magnolias. So right off the bat, the first thing we notice about this tree is the ridiculously amazing, mind-blowing blooms that this tree has. And they kind of look like tulips. And you know, that's one of the common names of this tree is the tulip tree. The blooms start off with a small little bud that kind of has a fuzzy appearance. And slowly you start to see the buds open up. You see that little sliver of color appear, and then boom, it blows up into this huge, beautiful tulip-like bloom, ranging from white on the upside of the petal to a very vibrant fuchsia pinkish color on the underside. These magnolias are most often seen in nurseries as a multi-trunk tree, and that just means they have several stems coming up from the base of the tree as opposed to a single trunk with a main canopy or a single head at the top. So think about it in terms of an ice cream cone shape versus a lollipop shape. Since we're talking about the trunk, the bark is a really nice smooth gray, which it kind of has a nice contrast against the lighter color blooms. Now, when you get up close to this and you smell that sweet magnolia, oh my gosh, it is amazing. Bring them in the house, let the scent just fill the room, and it's subtle, but it is amazing. And we're gonna talk about the different applications for the Saucer Magnolia, but first, let's check out the quick facts. Saucer Magnolia is best in USDA zones 4 through 9. The foliage is deciduous. It will get about 30 feet tall by 30 feet wide. Saucer Magnolia will bloom its best in full sun, but can also be used in part shade. Give this tree moderate to regular water. Blooms may appear in late winter to spring depending on your location. And in other notes, the blooms are scented. All right. How are we going to use the Saucer Magnolia? Such a cool feature of the Saucer Magnolia is that it blooms in what's usually referred to as the off-season or the cool months. You know, it's that late winter to kind of early spring when most blooms haven't really emerged from other plants and trees yet, and the landscape is still kind of quiet and neutral. This packs such a high visual punch. It's such a crucial aspect to the winter garden to have some kind of pop of color that's happening in the landscape. And this totally hits that note. Now, as you move towards the end of the bloom season, the blooms will fall off, the leaves will emerge, and they're kind of just a medium green that, you know, also looks really nice and attractive, but, you know, really the big show comes in the cooler season with this tree. This does really well as a smaller accent tree. So what does that mean? That means it's going to attract the eye where you want it to go. You could highlight an entry with that. If it's next to a gate, a column, or a walkway, an entryway, something like that, where there's gonna be foot traffic, then this tree is gonna do really well because it's very attractive, wants to give you a big hug and bring you into the space and have you enjoy it and smell the flowers and look at its gorgeous blooms. So use this in a space where you might want to draw the eye in. Now, also because it's a smaller tree, it can be in closer proximity to, let's say, houses, walls, or fences, or other structures where other large trees might not be able to fit. Or even in the center of a courtyard, something like that, you know, where you don't want a huge tree that just gets overwhelming with an invasive root system. This stays nice and tight, and it'll still give you that big visual punch. This is not gonna shade a whole house or provide, you know, this really dense shade from hot afternoon sun. It's not gonna do that. It's not that kind of tree. It's not that size of a tree. But where the magnolia might play a part in some shade is actually in front of a large window, like a bay window or, you know, a large family room window where you want to kind of create maybe sort of a filtered light condition inside and not have a super dense, heavy canopy of shade. And then once it completely goes bare in the cool months, you know, it's just sticks. So you're letting more light through. So it can really be a nice balance between how much light you want to let through in that season. So think about that when you're planning out your landscape. Now, stylistically, it can go in a few different directions. It has kind of that Asian sort of Zen-like appeal to it, but it can also be used in a cottage garden. It works really well because of the profuse blooms and the natural form to the trunk. So it's sort of cross-stylistic that way. Now, the Saucer Magnolia can also be used as a screening tree when they're planted in a line, let's say down a property line, to help screen off from another property. I would say this is not the most commonly used application for this tree, but it can work. And it does create a really gorgeous flowering screening element for your property. Now, you can also use the Saucer Magnolia in a lawn area. Now, there are some trees that, you know, just don't like being in a lawn space. And the Saucer Magnolia is one of those trees that will be totally happy right in the middle of your lawn area. So that just about does it for the Saucer Magnolia. Thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out with me today. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of my new flannel. I will see you guys on the next video, and as always, happy planting.